Hey, what's going on, guys? All in China, host Sega Forever. Um, just wanted to do this really quick stream. I actually tried to do a video because I wanted to talk about this topic, which is Google Stadia being dead. Um, but again, I continue to have problems with my recording suite for some reason. I don't know. I gotta take the time to figure it out. Either that, or I just might pay for the full subscription for Streamyard, which seems to work pretty well. Um, Yeah, but we're gonna get into it. I'll give it a couple more seconds, guys, before I jump in. Let me get situated, see if anybody comes in. But we're basically gonna talk about the announcement that Google Stadia is officially dead. Has been put out by Google last week. Kind of wanted to talk about it, but I was busy, so I just decided to pick today. Like I said, which is rare that I do streaming services on a Sunday. And I got some other videos lined up. Hopefully, I can fix the recording issue because there's a lot of stuff that's been going on that I want to talk about. But I'm not gonna lie, this was really convenient. The only problem I don't like when I'm doing it live is that you can have all kind of hiccups, right? So right off the bat, guys, I just want to apologize for the excess noise in the background. It's loud where I'm at. Sometimes when I listen to the playback on the video, it's not too bad. But there's other times where I can hear it, so I do apologize. And then also if my volume is off, I try to fix it as best as I can. And then I know my voice isn't the best. It tends to, I can't keep a consistent a tone. Speaking is not one of my fortes. So just put it out there really quickly. Um, I do apologize for that. So anyway, just a couple more seconds, guys, and then oh, excuse me, sorry about that. A couple more seconds, and then we'll kick it off. It's just basically something I've been wanting to talk about ever since the news was released on it. I think it was last week, Tuesday or Wednesday. So yeah, we'll get into it, guys. No worries. I'm actually trying to find an article I was looking at, but I can't seem to find it now. All right. We'll kick this off at the 3-minute mark. Yep, sorry guys, I can't find it. Oh man, I forgot my charger. Should be more prepared. All right, and one, and here we go. Yeah, so welcome to the podcast, guys. I'm still working on the official name. I actually have one, but I just kind of want to secure some people for the podcast to do it a little bit more regularly. It'll probably be shooting for like a Friday night, and I want to do a podcast that's going to include not just Xbox but gaming in general, and also specifically Xbox because, like I said, I'm a pro Xbox channel. But I also want to cover pop culture stuff, man, because that's something that I'm heavily into. I've been trying to do some pop culture videos on my channel. The problem with that being, I don't have the software to like actually present it the way I want to. I'm about as hardcore into pop culture as I am into gaming. That gaming is a part of pop culture, but there's a lot of stuff going on out there that I wouldn't mind talking about more specifically. But the way I want to present it, I just don't have the ability to do so. So that's something that I'm going to work on. But as far as moving forward, as far as the podcast for this channel, it'll be like the old school magazines we used to read growing up, man. That used to cover everything when it came to pop culture: comic books, toys, collectibles, gaming, television, movies, all that kind of stuff. So that's what I'm gonna shoot for directly with the podcast. So just stay tuned. We'll get it off the ground eventually. Um, Especially since we're coming on the holidays, I have a little bit more time to do some stuff. I am busy though. I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys have been keeping up with what's going on with Game Pass. Now it's funny to me that September was supposed to be one of the worst months for Game Pass. I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you guys. Oh, dude, what's up, Zobi? What's up, brother? Yeah, I saw your tweet, man. I saw it. Dude, you've been going hard, man, on the Xbox guys for the JRPGs. Dude, I think that's funny, dude. I'm so done with that narrative, man. It's all these dudes, and it's these guys that are supposed to be like representing the Xbox community, where they're sitting there talking about like, why don't we have JRPGs? It's because you guys don't buy them. That's why we don't get them. So if Microsoft only had JRPGs, then we could compete. Dude, at this point, man, if you want JRPGs, dude, go get a Switch. My daughter has a Switch, bro. She's playing all the games. I see them. She loves it. All right. She's kind of dropping off a Switch a little bit because for some reason, I guess maybe she's older. She's like playing all this post-apocalyptic stuff. Kind of worried about her, man. I have to take her to church. She's like playing all these zombies. I'm like, what's going on with you? She used to play Animal Crossing, dude. Animal Crossing kind of fell off anyway, dude. Yeah, it's good, man, but that's not their bread and butter, right? We both know that, dude. That's the thing that irks me about them, though, man. It's just like if you want JRPGs, go where the JRPGs are. And yeah, Phil is trying to work with them, but you can't force. Yeah, dude, I live in Hawaii, man. So Japanese culture is just they're their own thing, right? And I don't care that they're Microsoft or that they're Xbox or how much money Phil has. They're gonna do what they want to do. We know this. It's the reason why their anime still stands the test of time, and some of the stuff that they do stand the test of time. And I'll be honest with you, I would rather have a JRPG that's a JRPG. Like, there's some people that don't like the Yakuza series, right? And I absolutely love it. Why? Because it's at its core, it's Japanese. Yeah, it's a what you're getting is a piece of their culture, and it's not for everybody, right? And it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. But then you have guys, I won't name names, man. I'm not gonna try to do a flame war, but you know what I'm talking about, bro. You have these guys that represent Microsoft talking about this stuff. They're like, yeah, we need to get, like for me personally, I would love for them to get Sega just because I would like to get some of those old games back and then put them on Game Pass. Now, whether that's going to happen or not, I don't know. But I mean, if you want to get these guys on board, you gotta cater yourself to them. And to credit to Phil Spencer and stuff like that, I mean that's what he is trying to do. But he can't force them to do it. A lot of people don't realize how I say this all the time, dude. In order for Japan to open up to the to the international market and the U.S. in general, we have to sail a fleet of ships, battleships in their harbor, and basically force them to open up Japan, right? And that's just a cultural thing, right? And for me, I kind of like it that way because I like what they produce. Look, I know we follow pop culture and stuff like that, but there's some things I have no problem with the West, dude. I have no problem with our country or anything like that. But some things you want it to be less westernized, right? So in other words, if I really wanted a game that's a JRPG that's made on a PlayStation, I go buy the PlayStation and get it. I would if they had something there that I liked. I've never been a big Final Fantasy guy. When people were praising Final Fantasy VII, I was playing Shining Force 3, right? And I was pissed about that because we got the first Shining Force 3 came to the US and they did a translation on it, right? They converted it over. And so you could play the game, but the other two were only kept in Japan. And in order to play those games, I would have had to try and find a translated copy, which back then was hard, right? So, yeah, but Horizon Zero Dawn remaster, that's not surprising, dude. I mean, dude, what about Sony, man? It's just like so irritated with them. Look, dude, I know you're old school, man. I'm like you do, Parappa the Rapper, all their old school stuff that they had back in the day. I don't understand what happened to them, right? There was a time when these guys dominated. They used to be the apple of their time. People don't remember, like, they dominated electronics, then they went into music, then they did movies. They owned, like, 10 studios? They owned TriStar, Columbia. Well, maybe they didn't own TriStar, but I think they own Columbia. There's a bunch of studios that they owned. And then all of a sudden, you know, things change and things happen. They got challenged on all fronts. South Korea is kicking their ass now in electronics, not to mention Southeast Asia. They actually put their stuff out there. Second, yeah, dude, they're not the same company, dude. I tell people that all the time. This isn't the '90s anymore. But it's like they never learned from that. they have this '90s mentality, but we're in 2022 already. And so Jim Ryan's big dude. You know what? I did a video kind of, you know, crediting Jim Ryan for stuff. Then I watched your video. I should have watched your video. I didn't realize all the background. That's why shouldn't talk about Sony too much, man, because I don't know what's going on with the company. But I saw you put that out there on Jim Ryan. That was a really good video you did. Hey, Sega man, what's up, dude? Hey, I like your video yesterday, bro. Oh no, was it Saturday you put it out or Friday? Yeah, I needed that, man. It's been slim pickings on the Xbox side. Yeah, I've been listening to our brothers on the streets and then Zobi, right? Zobi we put out good content out there. But yeah, dude, I loved your video, man. It got me through my therapy. Yeah, it's hard, man, because we're actually playing games over here, dude. I just got through playing Kraken Academy. I was playing on that because I wanted to try it. Now the graphics are nothing to scream home about, but I like the characters. It's actually pretty well done. Yeah, yeah. It's. But as I was saying earlier, man. I mean, with Game Pass, and I was telling Zobi, we kind of got off on Sony, but yeah, we need to do a podcast, dude, about that. I want to get Hebot if you wanted to come on, and then hey Zobi, man, if you're still there, definitely let me know, man. I would like to have you on there, man, because I'm gonna title it. It's gonna be a podcast. I'm gonna title it The Empire Strikes Back, because I think it's hilarious that people, guys like us that are old school that know Sony from back in the day. It's like you're kind of getting that Sony back again, right? The way they're doing things. And I know a lot of people in the gaming community, even on our side, don't like when we talk about Sony in that way. But now they're seeing it in real time, man. And just the bad parts, not even the good parts, where they're actually making decent content back in the day, where they actually were artsy and they actually took chances on games. Yeah, I know, brother. I'll try and set it up and let you know if you can. If you can, awesome. If you can, that's fine. Plus, I know where I live too, man. Normally, I don't do a podcast this time of day. Yeah, I will, man. Definitely. Yeah, dude, I still follow. Dude, besides the fact that you're entertaining as hell, dude. Most people, I put myself in. I put myself under the bus, man. I know I'm dry, but that's why I like listening to you and you rock. Hebot, dude, Sega man be busting on people lately. Sega man, I don't know what happened to you, man. Like everybody said, you used to be more mellow, but you be throwing some zingers out there. But yeah, definitely, yeah, Zobi, I'll hit you up, man. Because we need to, because I want to talk to people that actually know what's going on. Not these guys that read about it on Google or Bing it. That talk about like what's going on now with Sega. Like they're saying, well, Sega killed themselves. Yeah, Sega did. Sega didn't do themselves any favor. But Sony was the one. Sony, the stuff that they're complaining that Microsoft is doing right now to Sony and the Activision deal, is the same. And it's not even the same. It was way worse what Sony did to Sega. And that's the truth, man. And there's a lot of people on Twitter who was like, "Oh, it's Sega's fault for doing that," But Sony was the one that put those nails in the coffin and buried them, and then danced on their grave. That's why I think it was King David. I was listening to that podcast, the Iron Lords, and King David was talking about that on one of the podcasts where he was ranting about it because he's, I believe, he's a Sega guy too. But he was basically saying, "Yeah, come on in, Sony. The water's fine." Sega's telling you the water's fine. Because I remember that, dude. Everybody wanted him to go publisher, and I was like, "No, dude, don't do that. Do not go publisher." And Sega did. They just published games, and everybody was happy. And guess what happened? Nobody bought their games. If nobody's buying your Dreamcast to play the games, what makes you think they're gonna buy your games third party? That's what blew my mind. And that's why everybody keeps on telling Nintendo that. I'm like, no, don't listen to them. Oh, Nintendo, you can make software and do this. No, Nintendo just needs to stay where they are and not do what Sega did, because that hurt them, and we never recovered. All their teams are gone, right? Some of their best creators, they're gone. You hear about them every once in a while. I follow Yuji Naka still on Twitter, and he posts every once in a while. When what is it, Balin's Wonderland came out, dude. It's a pretty cool game, right? It has the trappings of the old Sega, right? But he doesn't have Sega Team anymore. And Yu Suzuki, still love him, man. That's my boy. I love the games that he did in the arcade, but definitely for Virtual Fighter. And then of course Shenmue, right? But then that all passed, man. And so even if Microsoft does get a company like Sega, it won't be the same. Sega, I understand that, but at least we can get some of the stuff that was out there, and maybe Sega can get their creative juices flowing. It'd be great if they brought back the format they had with Dreamcast. They actually had a lot of teams working on the games back then. I think they had like 6 or 7 teams that were just awesome, right? They put out like Virtual Tennis, Crazy Taxi. Man, what else? They're working with the American publisher, and Dreamcast was an awesome console. And that's what pisses me off because you have people like Dreamcast guys sitting there talking about Dreamcast, having no clue what he's talking about, right? But it's such an awesome console, man, that it was going to turn Sega around. It had that ability to turn Sega around. And what happened? Sony went out there and introduced vaporware. This is where we get the term vaporware from. It was from Sony and their PlayStation. What was it, 2, 3? When they were going to release it, right? It was a year off, man. No games. Year off and no games. Does it sound familiar to now? Yeah, that's because it is. There's a year from now, no games, and then Sega couldn't recover from that. Just from an announcement and an unveiling. And their first 2 games was The Bouncer, which blew, and then they had that stupid fireworks game. I remember it, clear as day. And those stupid ducks in the tub, and Generations, and all that crap. Emotion Engine, all that BS. And that's the Sony that you're dealing with now, right? So I find it rich that you have Sony complaining about Activision Blizzard. Basically, for me, I'm just looking at them and I'm like, dude, you guys have done this. You've done it ad nauseum. You guys continue to do it to this day, which I don't care, dude. I'll be honest with you guys. I don't care that Sony's doing what they're doing. It pisses me off. Their hypocrisy is what gets me. Because like I told you guys, I would never buy a PlayStation. I'm never going to buy that. Dude, I've committed to the Xbox ecosystem. And because I've committed to the Xbox ecosystem, I actually play their games. And I have their hardware. Right? So I know what they're giving me and what they're not giving me. If they didn't give me what I liked, or if I didn't like, if I wasn't happy with them at all, I would have left a long time ago. But it's like Sega Man always says. Sega Man always says this, dude, we eating good over here. And we are. And that's the difference. For all the things of like us, me and Zobi was talking about earlier, JRPGs, Xbox needs JRPGs, Xbox needs AAA bangers. No, they don't need none of that, dude. They're going to get them. They're bringing it for you. Where's Scarlet Nexus, dude? Scarlet Nexus, it's like everybody fell off that game. The only person I know that beat it is Unlimited. I've played it. I have it in my backlog of games. It's an awesome game, right? Worthy of being praised. All these dudes that talk about Japanese RPGs, JRPGs, and Japanese games don't see anybody talking about it. They like came and went. That's why I like what Microsoft is doing, dude. Like, they shouldn't listen to any of these people because these people are not gamers. Anytime you sit there and you tweet to me that, or you tweet in general, or you're tweeting to me directly that Xbox has no games, dude, I discount you. You're dead. Your opinion has no merit. You're basically dead to me. You say something as stupid as that, you have no credibility whatsoever. Because it tells me you don't own an Xbox, you definitely don't have Game Pass, and you don't play games. In that one little statement, in those little few words that you did, that's what you told me. Because anybody that has an Xbox, that has a Game Pass subscription, they are playing those games. And yeah, Sega Man says this all the time too, right? It's just like you might not have something in there that you like. But there's something in there for everybody, right? You might not like every game, but there's something in there for everybody, and that is true. That is 100% true. And what's happening and why Game Pass is doing so well is there's a lot of people experiencing that. They're not on social media talking about it, or they might do a tweet or two, but they're not consumed on social media about what Microsoft has or doesn't have. They're actually playing what they have, and they're liking it. There are just so many games on Game Pass that I absolutely love, and that's the problem I'm having. Like I said, I'll do a video talking about this first world problems because it is an issue. It is an issue, not just for me, but could be for Microsoft on the Game Pass service. One of the things we were always worried about. Well, I wasn't. Okay, I just put out there all the fake gamers and mainstream media was also, the content. What kind of content are these good games? And they are. All of them are. The majority of them are. And what I mean by good is there's no, like back in the day when you have a bargain bin, man, you do a dumpster dive at Electronics Boutique, man, you'd say 75% of those games would be trash. But the reason why guys like gamers like us did it, man, I know Sega Man can attest to this, man, because I see that you still have your collection. The reason we did it is because there's that one small chance that you could find that one game that could just totally change your gaming, and that's why we did it. Right? And that's happened to me on several occasions. Now, I would say out of the hundreds of games that I would buy out of the dumpsters, I say maybe 25 if I'm being nice. Right? But there's also games that were playable, maybe not what you would like or spend a lot of time on. Right? But this is what Game Pass is bringing. It's taking that old school mentality and bringing it to the masses, and the masses are responding because you know why? Because it's a good service, and it's affordable. That's the main thing. Now, where issues can come later on is, of course, if the price is being raised, and they can deal with that. That's another bridge they got to cross. But right now, their focus is sharp, man. They're on content. They're on acquiring studios to make that content. Because I know, again, I say this all the time on my channel. A lot of people compare it to Netflix, and if you see what Netflix has been doing the last couple of months, right, for all the crap that they've been getting, for all the bad press that they've been getting, and they've done some stupid stuff. Don't get me wrong. There's some stuff they did I absolutely cannot stand. But the one thing that they never moved away from was providing content. I think it was smart of them not to get political. I thought it was smart of them not to get ideological, because once they started getting blowback and those numbers started shifting, especially in a pandemic where they should be striving, much like Microsoft did with their Team service, with the Game Pass service, right? They were taking hits and getting bad press. And so these guys kind of put their foot down. Now, I'll be honest with you, they haven't changed in what they're doing as far as if you're a person that's boycotting them for whatever reason. They're still putting out the content. The difference being is they're letting people decide. And that's the key factor with these streaming services. You gotta let the consumer decide what the consumer wants, and then just give them what they want. Now, on the business end of it, and I know Microsoft has done this with some things, or at least Xbox gaming, or Microsoft gaming, that's now in the Phil. Right, some things work out, some things don't, and then you gotta shift accordingly. But they basically have a foundation, they have a game plan, they have that roadmap that everybody was bitching about, right? I don't want to get into that, but they actually have a roadmap. They're actually following that roadmap. They're still listening to their consumers, but I think the smart thing that they did is they kind of looked at what they needed to do, and they're doing that, and trying to cover their bases. The social media is absolute BS, dude. It's just a loud horn. Nobody really listens to it. And then I'm not saying that it's bad, because you can be on social media and enjoy it, but there's a lot of group thinking. I find myself in that kind of the situation when it comes to my own principles or morals or politics, or even religion and stuff like that. So you always got to check yourself, right? And that's what a lot of these people don't do. They definitely don't do that in the gaming community, especially on the Sony side. It's just ironic to me how tone deaf Sony fanboys are, because all the stuff they threw at Microsoft and with Xbox, the games, the lack of games, it's going to be extinct. All of that stuff, holding gaming back, all of that stuff now is at their doorstep, and I think it's amazing. I'm enjoying this stuff, dude. I'm not gonna lie, guys. I mean, it's been for what has it been, like a couple, 10 years? Like 2013, where almost 10 years, right? That we have to deal with these morons, and you can see it actually changing now. That they're taking their last gasp, because everybody's basically, they never really had a fan base. I've said this before. I'll say it again on my channel. Like Xbox 360, Microsoft found it out with the 360, right? That they were they had fans, but they didn't have the fans like they thought they had the fans. And then when people shifted, right, that the momentum shift, or the E-Rock likes to say that paradigm shift, right? When that happened, right, a lot of people were like, well, okay, it kind of left Xbox a little bit confused. It also was because of the hate from the gaming media, 100%. You also live in the age of influencers, right? That was another thing. People jumping on board for clicks and stuff. That's why you got to be worried, man. You got to be able to discern things when it comes to gaming, because these people are absolutely untrustworthy. They'll do whatever they need to do to push their narrative or to get views. 100% believe that. There's very few people out there, and who's real and who's not real, right? It's one of the reasons why I don't do a lot of videos, guys. I mean, there's so much stuff being said out there. I don't have to do a video all the time, which is kind of good, I'll be honest with you, because taking time like this, I'm sitting here doing the video, and I appreciate you guys stopping by, or for people that view it. But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, man, I could be playing. It's in my free time. I could be actually catching up on some of my Game Pass games. But yeah, getting back to Game Pass, man. If you guys have not seen the games leaving in October, definitely think you guys should look at that. Um, they're going to lose a lot of good games. And again, personal bias, right? I like a lot of those games, but as far as the chatter on these games are and how many people liked it, these are probably some of the best games on Game Pass, and they're leaving at the end of October. I think two of them I've already bought. As soon as I played them day one, I bought them. But I don't think I got Sable yet. I kind of fell off of Sable too, man. It's just yeah, Game Pass just has way, dude. It's just too many games. I mean, if I could sit all day, even if I could play games all day, and that's all I did, it would be hard, right? And then I know a lot of it is me. I'm kind of varied in my taste, so I like different types of games. So that doesn't help as well. But all I'm doing is I'm end up buying these games and just creating a bigger backlog, which is funny because Aaron Greenberg kind of tweeted that out the other day. He's saying, "Oh, sorry about adding to your adding to your guys' backlog of games, but first world problems." That video for another day. But yeah, so getting back to the Google Stadia thing, man. Sorry, I went off on a tangent, but yeah, not surprising at all that they didn't make it. Google, like other big tech companies, and I'm not just talking about them getting into gaming. I just mean in general. Microsoft has done the same thing, man, with some of their stuff. Um, they just have so much money and they do these things, and sometimes you feel they're not 100% in it. And for me personally, I knew I would never get a Stadia just because it's a streaming service. And I already use the streaming services what Xbox has, and it doesn't work well for me. But then Xbox understood that. And so what Xbox did was they give you everything, right? So a lot of people that are out there worried about physical, or a lot of people worried about the consoles going away, I don't see that happening anytime soon. And Stadia is that perfect example. Now you guys know. For any of you guys out there who is just saying, "Oh, this stuff's gonna go away in like 2 3 years," just look at Stadia. This is a perfect example of why physical matters, both in console, both in hardware and software, right? And I'm not saying if you like digital, I partake in digital too. But it's basically what you have is a buffet, and that's what it should be like, man. You have options. I don't know what's wrong with people nowadays; they just don't like options, right? So a lot of people like push for things, as far as the internet, especially when it comes to gaming, they're like, "Oh, we need this one thing." I'm like, "No, dude, you want multiple things going on at the same time, right?" And again, Stadia is the perfect example, right? It absolutely shows you 100% why physical is still viable. And then even when it comes to a time that Stadia, like a Stadia service or Xbox and their cloud, their Azure cloud stuff goes on, finally hits that mark, it'll still be there'll still be a niche group of people that are always going to be there, man. Look, dude, my daughter is collecting 45s now, which blows my mind. Now it's more on the art side of stuff like that, and then some of it's the music. But she's an artist and she loves the covers, and so there's always going to be those people out there. Right? And again, if that's one thing you can learn from Stadia, this is definitely the thing. The other thing I want to talk about, it kind of blew my mind because if you guys follow me on Twitter, I still follow the Red Dragon. He's one of the few people I still follow outside of my Xbox circles. Zobi is another one. Zobi, I still follow. I'm not trying to compare Red Dragon and Zobi. There was a point where Red Dragon got a little bit more respect for me, but he's definitely gone down a different road. I mean, I'll just be honest, man. This dude's got like, Microsoft derangement syndrome or Xbox derangement syndrome. Because everything this dude posts on Twitter, like he would post negative stuff about Microsoft, but at least back in the day, it would make a little bit of sense, especially him being a PC guy. And it doesn't seem like he was just caught up in it. But now, dude, this dude is 24/7 just hating on Xbox. I mean, every single one of his tweets, dude, is just constantly like that. Dude, just. And the problem, look, dude, I'm going to let you guys know something, man. Never get emotionally involved in stuff like this, right? It's always bad. You're never going to win an argument. Dude, you're just going to look bad all the time because you can't take your emotions out of stuff, right? And then what happens with that is you can't think clearly, and then you start posting stuff that's stupid. And that's what blew my mind because the last thing that Red Dragon posted was because of what happened with Google Stadia. Now, he posted that it was because of Microsoft possibly to deal with Activision happening, and of course, Microsoft basically taking over the whole industry or taking over the world. And so he put that up there, and he tagged, and you see a lot of these PlayStation guys doing this now. They're tagging like government authorities and stuff like that. And what they're doing is they're trying to in a way to try and get the government authorities to look a little bit more closer to try and stop this deal, which won't be stopped. And so basically, so he basically tagged the CMA, which is the governing body or regulatory body that's in England that's looking at the Activision purchase a little bit more closely, right? And so he did that, but the way he put it, the way he said it, basically was like Microsoft. 2 years ago, Microsoft looked at Google as one of their biggest competitors, and then since Stadia closed down, 2 years later, Stadia closed down. That's basically Microsoft's fault, right? Because and what he's trying to sway to is that Microsoft is too big and powerful, right? They're taking over, and if you allow the Activision deal to go through, right, it'll be lights out for everybody. Right? It'll be the end of gaming, which I find ironic. But the real irony here is when I read that tweet, I was like, dude, did you even take the time? And this is the problem with Twitter in general. It's like people, you know what they're thinking and you know what they want to say, but it's like they never sat there and thought it through. Like they didn't write it. Like I would recommend people just type it out first or write it down on a piece of paper. Have somebody proofread it, right? That's going to critique it what you're writing, because basically he was trying to say that the Activision deal was bad for gaming. But basically what he did say was he just strengthened Satya Nadella. I think it was like 2 weeks ago, right? That Satya talked about, hey, if you want competition, let us compete. Yeah, dude. Hey, what's up, Mr. Kima? Yeah, that dude is off his rocker, bro. And so I can't believe it too, man. I used to follow that dude kind of religiously. That guy is gone. We've lost him, man. He's another one. He's another one that's he's fallen in the console war, man. But basically, if you read what he says, man, he's just strengthening the point of what Microsoft says. And so I wrote back to him and I told him, yes, please tag the CMA in this. Right, perfect. Tag them, because this just makes Microsoft's point, make the point of Microsoft trying to say, right? That if you want competition, let us compete. Because basically, with Stadia feeling, it just shows that it doesn't matter how big you are, that you're one of the biggest, if not the biggest tech company out there. You have the biggest search engine, right? You have bazillions upon bazillions of dollars. You have all the money in the world, right? You came into a video game space that you thought you were going to dominate and own, right? And you failed, and you absolutely failed, right? And that's all he's doing with that tweet, right? Anybody with any common sense that reads that is like, okay, well, that means that Microsoft could fail too, right? Because they're both in the same ecosystem. Both cool. They are the big dogs, man. It's like King Kong versus Godzilla, right? And then Godzilla went down, and now you're left with King Kong. But nobody's bulletproof, man. This is why I push Game Pass so much. There's some things that Microsoft needs to do to make Game Pass bulletproof. And if they can make it bulletproof, that'd be awesome, right? But it's not guaranteed. I mean, nothing truly is guaranteed. If we saw the last 2 years, right? Nobody thought that businesses would close down the way that they do. I mean, where I live, there's family businesses that have been around for over 50 years, man, gone. They're gone, never coming back. And they're already suffering that before the pandemic, right? Because a lot of these businesses are family owned, and then the kids of the grandparents, or the kids of the kids, are basically, their grandparents started it, then the parents took over, and then those kids are going to take over. But there's those kids, their kids, that are doing other things and not following in the family business. So you already have that issue with the turnover, and basically, the pandemic came in and just ran roughshod over everybody, right? So that's what you had to deal with. And it was crazy to see. It was amazing for me to see. But yeah, I mean, if that was his intention, to show that Microsoft is the beast, to me, it just shows why Microsoft should get the Activision Blizzard deal. And if you guys read what Google response was to the Brazilian authority on the Activision Blizzard deal, right? Google was absolutely right when he talked about that, right? Because it's just like, look, gaming is huge, which it is. Right? Gaming just doesn't consist of consoles, which it does not. Gaming is so diverse and varied, from the type of customers that they have to the products they produce in both hardware and software. I mean, it's all over the place. This is why it's a billion-dollar industry. It just doesn't reside in consoles. And the scary part is that there's room to grow. Which just, again, going back to Sony, blows my mind, dude. This is not the same Sony company, man. The Sony company I knew would have battened down the hatches, man. Like people are saying, go make your own game. Sony would have done that. The old Sony. The only old Sony would have, they would have been dirty too. But at least they would have a little bit more pride. Right? It's just sad to do. I hate Sony with a passion, man. But I actually feel sorry for them because they look pathetic. It's actually sad to think that these guys used to own multiple studios, dominate the music industry, dominate electronics on a level not not seen yet by any other company. You know, they push industries, they push boundaries, and dude, indie film. They're one of the reasons why we got indie film um off the rocks, dude, and launched. Oh my gosh, dude, it's sad. It's sad, but they're a product of their own BS. And I'm glad it's happening to the toxic fans, dude. I hate using that word. To the Sony ponies. Those guys are the worst fan base, man. And they deserve everything they get because they've been pushing this crap for the longest time, and now it's come back and biting them in the ass, and deservedly so. Because these dudes don't have a clue about what's going on. They've lied. They've talked trash. They've done all this kind of stuff. They're blind, right? They put Sony in this position, which Sony deserves that because Sony fed off of that as well. And then Microsoft just came in and just totally did a 180 on them. Just flipped the script, and then boom, now Microsoft is on top. And you still got those guys out there, those ponies out there. Well, we sell more consoles, and we got these AAA bangers, man. God of War, whatever, has like 90 something on Metacritic, but little by little, every little thing that they push, which they don't care. I'll be honest with you, right? These guys don't care. It's just console war fodder, and that's the difference between us and them. You know, we actually care. That's why people on our side will get on Microsoft about stuff. You know, they get your crap together, right? You know, my Elite controller is starting to suffer, man. I've taken good care of that thing. I've rarely used it, only for shooters when I've had to. I've been using it a lot more since Game Pass, but it's starting to fall apart. And for me, that's kind of like, dude, you guys got to work on that. You know, that's something that you guys got to get better at. You guys make good quality products, dude. The design wise is awesome. And I know you put these things through the ringer and stuff like that. So maybe it's where you're getting it produced. Maybe you should bring it back to the U.S. where I get a higher standard of quality than shipping this stuff overseas, which seems to be a problem with some of our hardware as Microsoft Xbox fans, right? I understand how the industry is, right? And if that's one good thing about this pandemic that can come out of it is that we need to bring a lot of this stuff back home to the U.S. Start paying the people here money, right? You're already paying exorbitant amount of money for stuff that are low quality. That's why I don't really buy stuff anymore. And this is one of the reasons why Game Pass does so well, dude. It's just a bigger pot for everybody to take a part of, and through your subscription, you're creating that, but you're allowing developers to get paid. That's what Microsoft is doing, right? And Sony, they waited too long, dude. There's no way that Sony can turn this around. They could turn it around if they need a big injection of capital, and I see a lot of people talking about Google actually purchasing Sony, which would actually be, I mean, that would have been better than Google trying to get into the game and do their own thing. Now, Google's a company like other tech companies. They like to be proprietary, right? They like to be the masters of their own destiny, understandably so. But these guys never worked in the gaming space, and again, this is why Stadia failed. So for all those people out there trying to beat Microsoft, and isn't that how it is now? Every time something goes on with Xbox, anything, dude, we could have like a shortage of rice in China, dude, and it'd be Microsoft's fault. I swear to God, these ponies and all these haters out there will try and I bet you Red Dragon will put something in there. Yeah, it's because of the Surface, and it's crazy. I can't with these people, man. This is why I don't care if they go away, dude. I honestly don't. If Sony was to disappear, and I know people out there, no, they're a staple of the gaming industry. I'm like, dude, they haven't been a staple forever. As you guys can see, with everything goes, this stuff just didn't happen overnight. It's been going on for years. Guys like myself, Hebot, yeah, Mr. Kima, bro, you've been in on this, Sega Man, Zobi, Erock X, the whole crew, Unlimited, all of us, dude. We've been saying this for years. Even guys that have left us, right? Whether it's Crab Gamer or oh man, I can't remember his name right now. Zaire, right? And you see some of these guys coming back now. I mean, even they knew back then, right? I mean, it's not rocket science, dude. If you're in the culture and you actually game, you can see this happening. There's always ebbs and flows. You know, things never stay stagnant, dude. Everything's changing, especially in the tech industry, of which video gaming is. You know, video gaming has done a lot for technology in general, as far as pushing the envelope forward because you can take a chance because it's a lower risk model, right? But pushing the industry forward and bringing in the masses, it's always been like that, and that's the only thing I'll give credit to Sony for, which is also the thing that's killing us right now as gamers. Right? Sony brought in the masses because of their brand. And that's why I call Sony guys brand gamers now. They're not real gamers, man. Because if they were real gamers, they would all have Game Pass subscriptions. You just would, because there's just like so many games to play, right? And I'm not talking about the middle of the road guys. Those guys. I don't mess with those guys either. They do what they do. We do what we do on this side, especially on my channel. I don't play with that. I bleed green. I'm Xbox Island. That's why I changed my title of my channel back. Right? And this is the kind of space that Google tried to invade, and they thought they were going to do something with it. Right. And again, I tried to make a video about this earlier. It wouldn't load. So, for me, when I look at Google doing this, they're also, like I said, it's like King Kong versus Godzilla. It doesn't surprise me that they're doing what they're doing, just because they're at war with Microsoft, man. I know for a fact that because Google went ahead and sued Microsoft, they lost a big government contract, and I believe it was for the cloud service, and then the government actually went. By government, I believe it's like the civil and as well as the military, right? Because where I work, man, we use they're just trying to switch over um, to not Windows. What do we call it now? The new Microsoft suite of software, and we're using their stuff now, and it's official, right? Um, and they won that contract, and Google was mad, man. Google took them to court, and they lost, right? And so you have Google and Microsoft they have a competitive thing going on. For Sony, they just need to go, man. I think it would do good if actually a bigger company picked them up, so that they could do some of the things that so that they could do some of the stuff that they want to do. They just don't have the capital. Like everybody's saying, man. If Sony had the money, they'd definitely buy Activision and all of that stuff. You'd have to buy a PlayStation to play those games. That is the God's gospel truth. That is, and we all know that because they don't have that money like Microsoft does. But for these people to sit here and moan about it and complain and whine, it's sad. It's actually sad. But yeah, it's not Microsoft's fault that Google Stadia went under. There's a lot of issues. In fact, there's articles coming out now because that was going on the news cycle for the last 72 hours. Was basically the narrative that Microsoft and the Activision Blizzard affected it, as well as Game Pass is killing it. All of these people are putting out their stuff, and now the media is starting to kick in and said, "Well, there was issues with it before." And I'm talking media. I'm talking more on the tech side as opposed to the culture side. Even though there's a couple culture magazines that are going against that too, but these people, there's an agenda behind everything. But it's just that our agenda line up, right? And they're actually putting out content out there, which is actually true. Right? It's like they shot themselves in the foot. Google didn't do themselves any favor. They didn't take it seriously, which you can tell, just like any other tech company that's huge. Like you see what's going on with these regulators meeting with Sony, right? And the reason they're meeting with Sony, so I believe Sony requested it, but the reason they're meeting with them is because they absolutely have no clue about video games and the industry and how big it is and how varied it is, how diverse it is, right? And the way the money in the video game industry is made, because Sony could care less about the Call of Duty game itself. They want those transactions, and they don't want Microsoft to just have those transactions. I can tell you that since I bought Call of Duty Warfare or Modern Warfare. I know that came in 2019, but I refused to buy the game. Well, since Microsoft's going to get Activision, I decided to start training. So I bought the game. It was a good price. I think it was like $29 or $34.99. It was like more than half off base game, and I bought it. I don't like Warzone, but I did love the actual campaign and the multiplayer because it took me back to what COD is, right? And they did some really good updates on it. It has a nice feel and flow to it. Still sucks online. Still got cheaters, right? You'd think with all the money and the time they've had that the lag and stuff like that, right? And then you guys know what I'm talking about, where you're running and you turn a corner and then you die, and when the person's shooting you, when you see it from your viewpoint, you're around the corner. But when you see it from their viewpoint, they're shooting you. Then there's the people that actually, and there's the cheaters out there. A lot of people now, it's not the cheating to crack down on that. No, because the problem with the cheaters nowadays is they have no chill, right? These guys are just blatantly because nothing's gonna happen to them. Dude. What's gonna happen, right? And it's sad because it actually kills what the game was when it first started off. Dude, before we had all this stuff, dude, you'd actually have like people on mic talking about stuff. You have to actually work together. Right, like I was in this one map, and then you had a bunch of guys on the other team. They were just good. They were really good, right? And they had, I don't know if they were in a group or anything, but they had their points covered, right? It was one of those with there's like areas of shortness that you can move into with a quickly, but then there's a lot of long points in there too. So they had the snipers were all on point, quick scoping and stuff like that. It was hard to punch through. So what you should do is that if you work at a team, right? But nobody does that anymore, and that's sad, dude. That was the magic behind Call of Duty. So it's stuff like that, dude, and that Microsoft will have to look at. This is my personal opinion. This is the stuff that Microsoft will have to look at to make this game better than what it is. So, like I said, nothing is set in stone, man. Microsoft acquiring Activision, and there's a whole other reason I know why they're doing it. I won't touch on it right now, man, because I know a lot of I got like, a lot of Xbox guys will kill me. Right? When I go down this route, I won't go down this route yet. I'll do a video separate about that. But by Microsoft picking up, they're also picking up the problems of Activision Blizzard. There's a lot of stuff that Microsoft needs to work out. Now is Microsoft a company? A lot of people are confident that they are. I'm somewhat confident, right? But that's like the albatross around their neck. And I'm not just talking about the allegations of sexual harassment. And I use the term allegations, right? Because a lot of people talk about this stuff like it's a fact, and it's not a fact, right? Guilty until proven innocent. And whether the guy's a dirtbag or not or whatever. And hopefully Microsoft approach that because they got to keep their head about them in all this situation, because there could be a lot of stuff going on, right? And not knowing everything that's going on and take the proper game plan to fix this stuff. I mean, like I said, that could be the albatross around this deal's neck, and that could actually end up hurting Microsoft. It's not on that I'm really concerned about. It's just the amount of games that they're getting and where these games fit in and what they're going to do with those games. Right. They're already front loaded with a lot of studios, right? This is something that they got to take into consideration, which I'm pretty sure they have, but they still got to execute. Now, I am high on their ability to execute because of what they've been doing lately over the last 4 or 5 years. I've been really impressed with what Microsoft has been doing. I mean, they have gone far beyond what anybody thought they could do, and then some. I mean, they only got more room to grow. But still, execution is a big part of that. And again, for those of you guys who just want to sit there and say this is a slam dunk, as far as Microsoft turning everything around, on the opposite side I'm talking about, a lot of this Xbox guys understand this stuff. We don't talk about it because we're too, I would love to talk about this more, but we're too busy fighting with the other side about stupid crap, right? That doesn't matter. That you can't really get down to the nuts and bolts of what Microsoft. As Xbox guys, we need to talk about like Microsoft needs to do with Game Pass. Like the overwhelming amount of games that in there that people might not get a chance to play. How can you correct that? And I know they've done stuff in social media. Unfortunately, social media is not the end all and be all. I think people think it is. I think Aaron Greenberg has done a great job with the promoting of the stuff. They've done a great job of killing a lot of the negativity out there. And they stayed on message and stayed on point. But I mean, they still need to evolve a little bit more. And look, I'm just saying that because I partake in Xbox Game Pass and I love ID at Xbox. And that's been you guys' lifeblood. So I hate to see these companies get pushed off on the side. I think the fact that Microsoft makes deals with them is very important. The levels at which to make that deal, how long they can last, I don't know, but we don't know all the numbers. But for me personally, this is why I constantly push Game Pass and push subscriptions, because the more subscribers they get in there, the more money that they'll have, and the more flexibility they'll have. Because Microsoft has proven, yes, they're about the money, but they're also about the developers and the games. At least now, what you saw in Satya coming out talking about what he talked about, and him putting himself out there, not just once, but basically 3 times in the interview when he went to England. And then even prior before that, where he was preaching. Excuse me, guys. I'm having to drink. Throat's a little bit dry, which tells me I'm talking too long. But basically pushing that message out there, and then with Phil giving him all the support, which is very important. That was good that he did that, because that's showing that this is not. Microsoft is all in. They are literally all in. You can see through their actions in both buying power, purchasing power, and just all around support. Right? And that's good. That's awesome. Because somebody needs to take the lead, and I prefer it to be Xbox and Microsoft. Dude, not Google, definitely not Amazon, dude. I don't know what Amazon's up to, man. They told me my package was going to be here on Wednesday. I got it today. Amazon, you guys are shipping, right? And your video service and your music service are trash. You have the content, man, but you need to put it together. And that's the same thing that happened with Google, man. Google stepped into space they didn't know anything about. Right? That's what happens when you have too much time and too much money. Right? You think you're unstoppable, or you think you're unbreakable. And at least for us on the Microsoft side, man, we know that Xbox has been through its paces, right? They went through a lot of hardship to get to the point where they're at now. That's just a fact, and they learned their lessons, man. Yeah, sorry about this dog. This dog will bark at anything, man. He's my neighbor's dog. Like I'll be in my garage and he'll be barking at me. Homestead. That's what you get. But yeah, so anyway, guys, I'm gonna wrap this up really quickly. Thanks for dropping by, man. The people that did. Zobi, I definitely will hit you up, man. Sega man, please keep it on the schedule. Mr. Kima, man, let me know if you want to jump in on a podcast, dude. I'm starting to put a podcast together. It'll be more of a pop culture podcast, but the focus will be on Xbox. Because I am a pro Xbox shit. But yeah, so just in closing, guys, I mean, just enjoy it, man. I know I am. I have my popcorn out. There isn't a day that doesn't go by where where I'm just entertained by all of this drama going on. And I'll be honest with you, I believe firmly that the Activision deal is going to go through, but if it doesn't, I mean, just look at the games you have. Look at the studios that Microsoft already owns. Like I said, I do a video just talking about Game Pass in general, man, because it's crazy out there, dude. I looked at that October release date, man. Number two things, I looked at the games leaving in October. This is probably the first time I'm going to have to buy every single game that's on that list. Either I haven't finished it or I just like the game so much that I'm going to support them. So basically, I buy Humble Games, I buy all their games. And then I forgot the other, I think it was 505. There's a couple companies I just buy their games just because they showed love and support to Xbox. And because I like their games. The games have far exceeded what I thought they were. You know, like you look at them, they look interesting. And then when I start playing them, I was like, wow, this is not what I thought, dude. Indie games have come a long way. Right? And then in some games, even if they're not as good, or they have issues and stuff like that, at its core, dude, you can feel what the person was trying to do, the developer was. And for a lot of these guys, they're small teams, they're just individuals. And so you're kind of getting like a piece of them, you know, like I'm a comic book guy, dude. This is what got me into independent comic books. Right? I mean, there is this thing about hating the big three. I don't know, the big two at least, Marvel and DC, and then for the other company. And so that spurred indie, which has always an indie comic level. But in the 90s, it was such a big thing because comic books were growing by leaps and bounds. But it was through that indie market that you would find content that you wouldn't find anywhere else, right? And that's something that I think the gaming industry definitely needs. It's something that's given lifeblood to Microsoft, that's for sure. That's why they constantly do the ID Xbox games, man. You know, Fortnite was at ID Xbox, dude. And I don't think a lot of people realize that. I started playing Fortnite before they did the multiplayer. I was playing it because it was like more of a survival game, and I love this kind of games. So I was playing with my daughter. So what would you do? You go into the game, you play, and then you get enough stuff to have materials. Then you go into your own world, and then you would build your area. Because I like doing that kind of stuff. I love sim and building and survival. And there's a combination of all that, right? Plus zombies. You guys know I like zombie stuff. And that's how the game started off, and that's how I started playing it. Right? And there weren't a lot of people there doing that. It was fun, you know. It's still like a multiplayer, right? But you had a story. You're basically in this environment. And then once they did the multiplayer thing on it, they copied PUBG, and it blew up like that. Like I said, I didn't see that coming, but that's the beauty of gaming. Hey, what's up, Kano? Yeah, sorry, dude, I'm about to jump off, but yeah, I'll do another podcast, man. We gotta do it like, yeah, because you know why? I actually did a video and it wouldn't load, which kind of irked me, and so I just did a live podcast because I just want to talk about Google. Yeah, but yeah, sorry, dude, I'm about to jump. Um, but yeah, I'm putting the gang together, see if we can get this thing going. Um, but yeah, so they don't. But like I said, with Fortnite, nobody saw that coming, and that's the beauty of gaming, and that's why this deal will go through because you never know what the next big thing is. COD is a huge game, but COD is not. You know, it's definitely not the game it used to be, right? And the fact that Sony has to hang on to something like that, that's sad. As the history of, you know, like I don't, like I said, I give Sony a lot of crap, but I am old school. And so the history that Sony has, the fact that they have to climb on, just to cling on to one thing, or basically just grab, just jump on, holding on to scraps. Dude, this is sad, dude. This is absolutely sad. Um, and I'll be honest with you, dude. They, I know a lot of people won't like to hear this, but if they go, nobody will. We'll be fine. Gaming industry will move on because they have not been instrumental in anything in gaming, pushing anything forward. They've done a couple things that you could look at basically, but nothing major, and if they go, they will be fine. Hiba, what's up, my brother? Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm sorry, brother. Yeah, I should have. I'm actually gonna. I gotta jump off. Yeah, I gotta go. Checking out my son. This ran way longer than I thought. I actually was gonna do a video, man, but I had to bounce that because it wouldn't load, man. I was so upset. I spent some time on it, dude. I like what I said too. It's basically, and it's more focused on Google. I kind of went off on a tangent. Zobi jumped in earlier, so yeah, Hiba, bro. I want to do a video with you, me, you, and Zobi, and then Sega Man, like us old school guys, and E-Rock if he wants to jump in. But like some of us old school, like it's too bad we don't have Big Kahuna around or Microbox of X. Like the old school gamers. Because I really want to do. I'm gonna title the the Empire Strikes Back. We want to talk about Sony. Because for all the stuff that we say about Sony and people tell us we're nuts or we're old and they just want us to die, I had somebody tell me that. Can't wait till you guys die, which I thought was funny. But for all the people that tell us that, dude, now they're seeing exactly what we went through. The only sad part is that Sony isn't that, they don't got that chip on their shoulder, dude. They're actually pretty sad. But I mean, all the evil stuff they do. This is Sony. This is the evil empire we always talked about. This is the evil empire we talked about. This is Sony 101. What you're seeing. The only problem is, dude, it's not. They're not messing with Sega or Nintendo. They're messing with Xbox, which has the backing of Microsoft now, and they're serious. What people don't realize is number one, Microsoft is looking at it from two perspectives, right? We talk about the liberal bent of why they're doing what they're doing. That's on another side, but also the business aspect of it, right? Like they definitely see value in this, and when Microsoft sees value in something, dude, they go all in, right? But that's for another thing. But yeah, dude, I'll hit you up this week, and we got to do that, dude, because I really want to talk about it. Probably Friday. All right, yeah, okay, guys. So yeah, I got to roll. It's almost 5:30. In fact, I think it is 5:30. But thank you guys for dropping by. Sorry, it's kind of impromptu. I know I got to get better at that. But I appreciate all you guys in the comment section, man. Zobi, Sega Man, Mr. Kima, Honest Gamer Man, and then of course my brother from another mother, Hiba. But yeah, dude, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Xbox Online channel. Yeah.